Hi, it's Storm from Ninja Money Crochet. Welcome to my yarn room. This is my secret little getaway. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that little icon in the corner there, the one with my picture on it. That'll automatically subscribe you to my channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell, that's down there too, because that'll let you know whenever I upload a new video. And if you can, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, because that lets YouTube know that you like my videos. This is going to be a first video in a series of videos that I'm going to be doing over 2022 on different crochet tips and hacks that I have picked up over my 40 plus years of crocheting and my 4 years of designing my own patterns. These are just little things that I've picked up that will hopefully help you along on your crochet journey too. And if you have some tips and tricks that you'd like to share, please go ahead and put them in the comment section below too. And if you want, I can talk about your tips and tricks too in future videos as well. So today, you saw in the thumbnail, I'm going to talk about how you can calculate your yarn yardage in your projects. This will also help you determine how much yardage you have left over in a skein of yarn after you finished a project. And you can also figure out how much yardage that you've used in a project, like if you've used multiple colors too, so you're not exactly sure how much yardage you've used. This will help you if you are a pattern tester, if you need to let the designer know how much yarn you've used for your test, or if you're trying to design a pattern as well. And if you don't design or pattern test, but you just want to know how much yardage you have left over in that ball of yarn, so that you can decide whether or not that's enough yarn to make another project. So I'm going to turn the camera around so that we can look down on the table, craft table, and I'm going to bring out all the tools that we would need to figure out that yardage and show you the formula that you would need to figure out that yardage. So let's get started. To calculate the amount of yardage in a leftover ball of yarn, we just need a few simple tools. We need a kitchen scale, a pen and a piece of paper, a label off a full ball of yarn, which is the same type of yarn that you're trying to calculate the yardage on, and you might want to have a calculator on hand. I'm just going to use the one on my cell phone. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to weigh our ball of yarn. You could do this with a project too, a finished complete project, if you weren't sure how much yarn you've used. So we're going to zero out our scale and we're going to put it on our ball of yarn on our scale. So we have 1.5 ounces. So we can set aside our scale now, and we're going to get our pad and pen back, and we're going to write down that number, 1.5. So that is the number of ounces that this ball of yarn weighs. I'm going to show you two different ways to calculate how much yardage is in this ball of yarn. The first way, we're going to take the total number of yards in a full skein and divide it by the total weight to get the yards per ounce. So this is what we look at on our ball of yarn. We're going to look at the total number of yards and the ounces. Now, if you are more familiar with working with grams, you can also do this with grams and yards or grams and meters, whichever one that you are more comfortable with. If you're going to be using grams, then you just want to make sure that you weigh your yarn in grams. So for this yarn, I've already weighed my ball in ounces, so I'm going to be using ounces and yards. If you don't have the yarn label for the yarn that you're using, you can go ahead and Google it, and you can find out this information. Usually any big box craft store for yarns like this will have these kind of information on their website. If you're looking for a yarn that is not typically sold in a big box store, you can go on Ravelry and search the yarn there, and you are most likely to find the yarn on Ravelry and find this type of information listed in their database. So now let's go on to that formula. So to find the total yards, we're going to write that number down right here. So we're going to do 160, and we're going to divide it by the total number of ounces, which is 3. And this is going to give us the yards per ounce. So I'm going to bring my calculator over here. Sorry, I don't want to have the lights shining on that. So we have 160 divided by 3, and that's going to give us 53.33333. So I'm going to put 53.3 down here, but I'm not going to clear this out of my calculator because we're going to use that number again. The next step in our calculation is we're going to take that number, 53.3333, that is our number of yards per ounce, and we're going to write that number down here, and we're going to multiply it by the weight of our ball of yarn. And why I said that we're not going to clear that number out of here, because all we have to do is just go times 1.5, and it equals, and that gives us 80. So in this ball of yarn, we have 80 yards. So if we were to do a project with this ball of yarn, we know that we have to keep it to no more than 80 yards. Another way to do this is you would take the total yards of the full skein, which is 160, and we would multiply that by the weight of the partial skein. So that would be 1.5. So we're going to clear out our numbers here. We're going to take 160 and multiply it by 1.5, and that gives us 240. Now the next step in that is we're going to take that number, 240, and we're going to divide it by the total number of ounces, or the weight of a full ball of yarn, which is 3. Divide by 3. And that also gives us 80. So there's 2 different ways that you can calculate how many yards are in your leftover ball of yarn. This will also work if you are looking to find out the yardage of a project. So, for example, let me get a small project and I can show you. So here I have this little heart bag. This little Valentine's heart bag that I did. And I will put a link in the description box below to this tutorial, so if you're interested in making one of these. So I'm going to put this on the scale, and we're going to weigh it. And it weighs 1.4 ounces. I know you can't see that in the camera, but I can see it right here. So it's 1.4 ounces. So we're going to take our notebook, 1.4, and this was made with Red Heart Super Saver. So I have a skein of Red Heart Super Saver right here, and I'm just going to wind this up here. And we just need to get that information that we were looking at, ounces and yardage. So we're going to take our total yardage, which is 364, and divide it by the number of ounces, which is 7. And let me get my handy dandy calculator out here. So 364 yards divided by 7 ounces is 52. Then we're going to take our number 52 and multiply it by 1.4. And that's going to give me 72.8 yards. And when you have a decimal point like this, I would round this number up. So I would say that I used 73 yards to make this project. And in a pattern, if I was writing this out to make a pattern, I would actually go up even a little further and say you would want 75 yards just to make, I like even, well, it's not necessarily an even number, but I like the nice numbers like 75, 80, 85, 90. It just makes it a little bit easier, a nicer number than saying you need 73 yards. So that is how I would use this to find out, this formula to find out how many yards I used when I was writing a pattern. So that is how you would calculate yardage on a ball of yarn, which is right here, or a project. Now you could do this on a larger project too. You would just have to put something like a bowl or something on your scale, then zero your scale out and put your project in the bowl so that you get a more accurate weight of the amount of yarn that's in the project. So I hope you like this tutorial, and thanks for watching, and happy crocheting. Bye-bye.